the Israel-Iran War, unveiling the silent chess masters behind 2025's defining conflict. While the world watches missiles streak across Middle Eastern skies and tallies casualties from the escalating Israel-Iran conflict, the most consequential players in this drama are operating far from the battlefield. The June 13, 2025 eruption of direct warfare between Israel and Iran, marked by Israel's Operation Rising Lion, targeting Iranian nuclear facilities, represents not just a regional conflict, but a carefully orchestrated reshuffling of global power dynamics that 99% of observers are missing entirely. The invisible hand, America's energy renaissance through conflict. The most startling revelation hidden in plain sight is how U.S. oil producers have emerged as the conflict's primary beneficiaries. While mainstream analysis focuses on potential oil supply disruptions and Middle Eastern instability, the reverse reality tells a different story. American energy independence has transformed geopolitical crisis into domestic opportunity. By 2023, the U.S. became a net petroleum exporter, with exports hitting 10.15 million barrels per day versus imports of 0.51 million barrels per day. The Israel-Iran conflict has accelerated this trend dramatically. As Middle Eastern oil infrastructure faces targeting, Iran's South Pars gas field and multiple refineries have been struck. Global markets are turning to American shale production with unprecedented urgency. This isn't coincidental timing. The conflict erupted precisely when U.S. shale technology reached peak efficiency and production capacity. Companies like Exxon and Chevron aren't just weathering the storm, they're orchestrating a fundamental shift in global energy dependence. The threat to Middle Eastern oil supplies is actually eliminating the last vestiges of American energy vulnerability. Russia's calculated gamble, the Kremlin's hidden relief. Perhaps the most counterintuitive winner in this conflict is Russia, not despite the war, but because of its specific targeting of Iran's nuclear program. While Moscow publicly supports Tehran, Russian strategic planners have long been uncomfortable with the prospect of a nuclear-armed neighbor separated only by the Caspian Sea and Azerbaijan. Ukraine's President Zelensky inadvertently revealed this dynamic, accusing Russia of actively trying to save Iran's nuclear program. But this accusation masks a deeper truth. Russia benefits enormously if Israel succeeds in permanently degrading Iran's nuclear capabilities. A denuclearized Iran removes a potential future threat to Russian regional dominance, while maintaining Iran as a useful but non-nuclear ally against Western interests. The timing correlation is unmistakable. As Russia struggles in Ukraine, diverting Israeli and American military resources to the Middle East reduces pressure on Moscow's Western Front. Every missile interceptor deployed to defend Tel Aviv is one less Patriot system available for Kyiv. The Saudi Emirati Ascendancy, rising through Iran's fall. The collapse of Iran's axis of resistance has created the largest power vacuum in the Middle East since the Ottoman Empire's dissolution. Saudi Arabia and the UAE, while publicly calling for peace, are the conflict's greatest regional beneficiaries. Iran's weakening eliminates their primary regional rival and creates unprecedented opportunities for Sunni Arab leadership across the Middle East. The fall of Assad's Syria in December 2024, the degradation of Hamas and Hezbollah, and now the direct assault on Iran's military infrastructure have systematically dismantled the Iranian regional network that challenged Saudi Emirati influence for decades. This isn't just about oil markets. It's about religious and cultural hegemony across the Islamic world. Notably, both Saudi Arabia and the UAE have remained conspicuously absent from direct involvement in the conflict. Despite their historical animosity toward Iran, their strategy is elegant in its simplicity. Let Israel bear the costs and risks of confronting Iran while reaping the benefits of Iranian decline. China's strategic patience, winning through Western exhaustion. Beijing represents perhaps the most sophisticated silent winner in this conflict. while American military assets flow toward the Middle East and defense spending focuses on Israeli support. China's strategic competitors exhaust themselves in peripheral conflicts. Every $1 billion spent on Middle Eastern military operations is resources not invested in Pacific deterrence. The search results reveal China's role in challenging orders that were underpinned for decades by U.S. power in Asia. The Israel-Iran conflict accelerates this challenge by fragmenting American strategic focus, as Washington debates direct military involvement in Iranian strikes. Chinese activities in the South China Sea and around Taiwan face reduced scrutiny and opposition. China's long-term strategy appears focused on encouraging maximum Western engagement in Middle Eastern conflicts while avoiding direct confrontation. The result: American global bandwidth becomes increasingly stretched across multiple theaters. The technology war within the war, AI's first nuclear battlefield. What mainstream analysis completely misses is the revolutionary role of artificial intelligence in this conflict. The search results hint at AI's critical role in how future wars unfold, particularly in the Middle East. But the implications extend far beyond tactical applications. Israel's ability to achieve such precise targeting of Iranian nuclear facilities and military leadership suggests integration of AI systems in intelligence gathering, target selection, and strike coordination at unprecedented levels. This conflict represents the first large-scale testing of AI-directed warfare against nuclear infrastructure, a proof of concept with terrifying implications for future conflicts. The companies developing these AI warfare systems, primarily American and Israeli technology firms, stand to benefit enormously from demonstrated battlefield effectiveness. Every successful strike validates their technology and guarantees future military contracts worldwide. The nuclear domino effect: Israel's accidental disarmament campaign. The reverse analysis reveals Israel's strikes as potentially the opening move in a broader global nuclear disarmament campaign, not through diplomacy, but through preemptive military action. 89. If successful in degrading Iran's nuclear program, Israel establishes a precedent for preventive strikes against emerging nuclear powers. This precedent terrifies every nation pursuing nuclear weapons. North Korea, despite its current arsenal, lacks the deep underground facilities that could withstand Israeli-level precision strikes. Other potential nuclear aspirants, from Turkey to Saudi Arabia, must now recalculate the viability of weapons programs in an era of preventive warfare. The International Atomic Energy Agency's confirmation that no nuclear material was present at the struck Iraq reactor site suggests Israel's intelligence capabilities extend far beyond what most nations can defend against. This intelligence superiority becomes a form of technological nuclear monopoly. Europe's diplomatic desperation, the last gasps of multilateralism. European powers' frantic diplomatic efforts to mediate the conflict reveal their recognition of fundamental irrelevance in emerging global power structures. The planned meeting between European foreign ministers and Iran's foreign minister in Geneva represents not influence, but acknowledgement of their sideline status in critical global decisions. Europe's primary concerns: oil market disruption, migration flows, and energy infrastructure threats expose their essential vulnerability despite decades of diplomatic institutionalism. They possess no meaningful leverage over either Israel or Iran, and their diplomatic tools appear increasingly obsolete in an era of direct military action. This marginalization accelerates Europe's strategic dependency on American military power while simultaneously undermining their claims to independent foreign policy leadership. The conflict effectively ends European pretensions to global diplomatic leadership. The humanitarian smokescreen: civilian casualties as strategic assets. The most disturbing reverse insight involves how civilian casualties serve strategic purposes for all parties. 910. Iran's reported 263 civilian deaths and Israel's 24 fatalities create moral justifications for escalation while obscuring the conflict's true strategic objectives. For Iran, civilian casualties justify continued resistance and potential weapons program acceleration. For Israel, they demonstrate the human cost of allowing Iranian threats to persist. For external powers, they provide humanitarian justifications for whatever level of involvement serves their interests. The precise casualty figures: 657 total Iranian deaths, including 263 civilians, suggests sophisticated information warfare alongside kinetic operations. These numbers are calibrated to maintain international attention without triggering humanitarian intervention that might interfere with strategic objectives. Economic warfare's new paradigm: infrastructure as currency. The targeting of energy infrastructure on both sides reveals warfare's evolution beyond traditional military objectives. 11. Israel strikes on Iranian oil depots and gas fields, matched by Iranian attacks on Israeli refineries, represent economic warfare designed to inflict long-term strategic costs rather than immediate military advantage. This paradigm shift reflects recognition that modern conflicts are won through economic attrition rather than territorial control. The side that can maintain economic functionality while degrading enemy infrastructure capabilities gains decisive advantage in prolonged conflicts. American energy independence becomes crucial in this context. The U.S. can sustain Middle Eastern energy disruptions while competitors cannot. This asymmetric resilience transforms regional conflicts into tests of economic endurance rather than military prowess. The Trump variable: chaos as strategic doctrine. President Trump's ambiguous positioning, simultaneously claiming prior knowledge of Israeli operations while maintaining official non-involvement, represents a calculated strategy of productive ambiguity. 83. This approach maximizes American strategic flexibility while minimizing direct responsibility for conflict outcomes. Trump's restrainer instincts compete with Israel's demands for support, creating a dynamic where American involvement remains perpetually uncertain. This uncertainty becomes a strategic asset, keeping all regional actors guessing about American intentions while preserving maximum options for future engagement. The failure of Trump's broader peace initiatives in Ukraine and the Middle East appears intentional rather than incompetent. Maintaining controlled instability serves American interests better than decisive resolution that might empower competitors. Historical patterns and future trajectories. The 2025 inflection point. Historical analysis reveals this conflict as the culmination of post-Cold War power transitions rather than their beginning. The search results identify 2025 as witnessing historic inflection points that will determine future global arrangements. The pattern suggests we're witnessing the final collapse of post-1991 international order, replaced by direct great power competition through regional proxies. Iran's role as Russia's regional ally and Israel's as America's strategic partner transforms Middle Eastern conflicts into great power confrontations by proxy. Future trajectories point toward increased regionalization of global conflicts, with each major power maintaining exclusive spheres of influence enforced through local allies. The Iran-Israel conflict establishes precedents for how these spheres will be maintained through preemptive military action rather than diplomatic deterrence. The unspoken endgame toward controlled regional hegemonies. The ultimate reverse insight reveals this conflict as part of a broader global reorganization into controlled regional hegemonies. Israel's emergence as the dominant Middle Eastern military power, supported by American technology and Saudi financial resources, creates a stable regional order that serves multiple great power interests. Iran's potential survival as a weakened but intact state serves everyone's interests better than complete collapse. A degraded Iran provides ongoing justification for Israeli military superiority and American regional involvement while remaining too weak to threaten established orders. This controlled instability model, strong enough to maintain regional balance, weak enough to avoid challenging global powers, may become the template for managing regional conflicts worldwide. The success or failure of this approach in the Middle East will determine its application to other contested regions. The Israel-Iran conflict of 2025 thus represents not just another Middle Eastern war, but a laboratory for 21st century power management through controlled conflict. The silent winners understand this dynamic and position themselves accordingly, while public attention remains focused on the immediate tactical exchanges that obscure the deeper strategic transformation underway. As missiles continue to fly and diplomats issue statements, the real victors are quietly reshaping global power structures through their calculated non-involvement in a conflict that serves their interests far better than any negotiated peace ever could.